Hi, and welcome to another episode of the One Lung Lounge. My name is Ashley, and today I have the privilege of talking with Natalie, who was diagnosed with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer in the year 2020 at just 33 years old. So last year, Natalie underwent a double lung transplant, and this is part 2 of a two-part series on her transplant story. So in the last episode, we discussed Natalie's eligibility for a transplant and everything leading up to the surgery. Today, we are going to dive into the moment she woke up from surgery and onward till today. So Natalie, hello, welcome back.
Hi.
Hey. So can you talk us through like the moment you woke up from surgery? Like what were you thinking? If you remember, how were you feeling? What did your body feel like?
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit more clarification. So I got called on a Thursday night. When I was told to come in Friday to see if these lungs would be a good fit for me. So on Friday, I was at the hospital pretty much all day up until about noon. And that's when I found out it would be a fit. So around noon, they were like, hey, okay, let's go. Let's get you prepped. We're about to go to the OR. This was, I think, yeah, around noon Friday. When I woke up, it was Saturday at like 5:45. This is what I was told.
Okay.
And I was like, I just was very confused. Like, why is it a whole nother day? It was Friday when I got this happening. Why is it Saturday? Apparently the surgery took longer than expected. They ran into some complications.
Mm,
My lungs were extremely diseased, so it was difficult to pull them out.
wow.
Another surgeon had to come in to assist because they couldn't get the lungs out good. I had to have a few transfusions from what I'm told. I had to be cut in a different area that they didn't expect to cut me in. So it was just a whole lot of craziness going on during surgery. But when
Mhm.
I woke up, I had this is my first time in life ever being in ICU, which this is a requirement for the transplant.
Mhm.
Everybody has to go in ICU. So I'm in ICU and I woke up with this, what is it, like tube, ventilator, whatever you call it. And
Wow.
I'm basically panicking because I didn't realize that when I woke up, I wasn't going to be able to talk or
Oh,
like breathe good because this thing is in my mouth. So I'm trying to tell them, like, give me a sheet of paper so I can write. And on the sheet of paper, I'm like, take this off. That's what
yeah.
I wrote on. So I'm like freaking out. And my mom's like, she's freaking out. Can y'all take it off? So
Oh,
I think they ended up taking it off sooner than they were supposed to,
oh.
the breathing, because I was just going crazy, literally. But
Mm.
um, I felt I felt like I could breathe better.
Oh,
I wasn't on oxygen or anything prior to, but I did start to develop shortness of breath, over time. So
yeah.
I could already breathe better. My chest was heavy, which I think is a common thing for people who do have different type of lung procedures. So that I felt immediately. I was in a lot of pain, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I had to have a epidural with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, and then it was painful. And then at one point, I couldn't deal with the pain. So on top of the fentanyl, they were having to give me morphine every 2 hours.
Mhm.
What's the one that starts with the D? Dilaudid? I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing that
Oh.
right. Yeah, but I was taking like 3 or 4 opioids at the same time, and
Yeah.
like nothing was working. So eventually, they started putting me on like nerve medications. So the nerve medications plus the opioids end
Mhm.
up helping me. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks and then I got released, but they were trying to release me before 2 weeks, but they couldn't get my pain under control. I lost about 15 pounds being in the hospital. I was on a feeding tube. I didn't even know I was on a feeding tube.
Mhm.
I had a catheter. I
Mhm.
was like, what, where am I supposed to use the restroom? And they're like, what do you mean you're using it? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then it's so funny. They bought me a bedpan. I was like, what you want me to do with this?
Yeah.
They were like, use the bathroom. I was like, I'm not using the bathroom
Uh-huh.
in this. So I ordered a toilet for them to come and bring me a toilet. They were like, this
My
bougie
God.
girl. And I literally got up and used the toilet. I was not about to use
Oh,
it in the bedpan.
yeah.
So they
Uh-huh.
were like, we never see patients like get up in ICU and use the
Wait,
toilet.
you're
Well,
still in the
I did.
ICU when you did this?
I
You
sure
got taken
was,
like a week
yeah.
out.
No,
That's
this was
wild.
like the second day I'm on the
No.
toilet in ICU. Yes, girl,
You
I was
could
not about to use
walk
no
like
bed.
with a walker? Like, how did you get to the toilet?
They helped me to the toilet with all the junk that I had connected. And
Oh,
then I asked them to step outside while I used the bathroom. I wiped myself and then they came back in. And they were like, well, we have to make sure that, you wiped yourself good because you can't really. I was like, look, I'm pretty sure I did. My grandma taught me how to wipe myself when I was little. And so when they checked, they were like, you're right. You did wipe yourself good. They was, they thought I was crazy, but
That's
it was like fun.
So there are some similarities at lung removal, like nothing compared to what you went through. But I was in the ICU for one night. I could not get out of that bed. I refused. I'm like, I'm not getting out. Like you guys are not getting me out of this bed. I couldn't even sit up without getting dizzy and almost passing out. And like the pain management was my biggest challenge. So
Yeah.
I cannot believe you got out of the bed after
Hmm.
double lung transplant in the ICU. That is like I was numb. I
Literally.
couldn't even like walk. Like I don't even know how you sat up.
Oh, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. So by the time like the fourth day hit, my pain was starting to get worse again. And they
Mm.
were like, you're sitting down too much, you're sitting down. And then I was supposed to do inpatient rehab, like, like in the hospital. But I don't know what happened, but I started doing really well in the hospital and started walking down the hallways and stuff. And then they switched my rehab from inpatient to outpatient.
And I'm curious, like when you talk about your pain, was it just
Mhm.
like where, okay, so many questions. Where was the incision? Did they go in through the back or the front? And or incisions, I guess. And where exactly was your pain primarily? Like,
They went in clamshell style. So all this was pretty much
okay.
open. And then they had to go in down by my groin because something happened during surgery. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had to end up cutting me down there. I actually got nerve damage from surgery. I'll tell you about that in a second, which they say is not uncommon. But as far as the biggest pain was my chest. The left and right side of my chest was hurting, and then my back was hurting, like really hurting. I'm still having issues with nerves. I'm actually going to a neurologist next week. Oh, high step. I was like taking a step, so my foot was going like this.
Yeah.
And also, like when I take showers, I can feel because I thought it was neuropathy, and they're like, it's not neuropathy. I have like a weird sensation with water. The high step issue has gone away
Oh,
on
good.
its own. But I'm still want to go see a neurologist for like these other weird sensations that I have.
Yeah. Would you say the pain management is getting easier or better or like how are things? It's only been what, 4 months or so since?
Yeah, it's been 4 months. So typically, they said I'm supposed to feel better than I do at 4 months.
Mhm.
But because I had so much extraness going on, they said my pain would probably last a little longer. They
Mm.
did tell me that I wouldn't start to feel better until about 6 months.
Wow. So not back to
Yeah,
normal, just a little better.
just better. Yeah, which I am starting to feel better. I mean, you can tell a difference. It's just a very slow difference.
Hmm. Um, I'm curious like how you're feeling generally today physically and what lifestyle changes you've had to incorporate since.
So I used to work out a whole lot. And right now I still can't. Only thing I can do as far as being active is like the treadmill. I'm starting to do a little bit more, but because the medications that you take, that's a whole nother story. They
Mhm.
basically suppress your immune system. So, if somebody looks at you wrong, I mean, you'll catch something. Basically, you already know they're probably dealing with other things.
Mhm.
But I've had to stop drinking alcohol because the medicine interacts with things. I can't, like, just to give you an example, I can't eat like blue cheese anymore, or I can't do like grapefruit. If I do like a steak, say for instance, which I'm not a huge beef eater, but the steak has to be like well done. Like you can't have any raw, no sushi. My diet has pretty much had to change
Mhm.
because of this transplant. So if I want to eat like a sandwich with like just say cold turkey meat, I can eat it, but I have to warm it up first.
Wow. Is this
Yeah, so definitely.
or just right now? Like forever?
No, I think maybe at least for the first year, I know. After that, I'm not sure. But
Uh-huh.
I've definitely had to change up quite a bit.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, you even getting on a treadmill and walking, like, is amazing. Like, 4 months after having both of your lungs removed and, having like, that is crazy that you are even able to do that. Like,
I know. Well, I thought, so somebody else actually motivates me also. The girl who got hers done before me, she motivates me because she is very active as well.
It just shows the importance of like community and having that support and like people that understand
Yes,
your journey.
definitely.
Yeah. Is there like a transplant community that you're a part of or like Facebook groups or who are you?
So yes and no. So the hospital actually has like this monthly meeting where people who've had transplant can join. I've only joined like twice. I don't really know why I don't go on a regular, but I've only joined twice. And then I found this company that allows you to have a transplant mentor.
Oh.
Because I've done something like that before, but the only thing about it is, when they called me to set me up with the transplant person, I had like a bunch of death in my family. I think I told you that before. So I
Mm.
never connected with them because it was just too much going on. So I don't have a lot of community and support in that regards. As a matter of fact, I had rehab earlier today and I met a girl who she just had a double lung transplant.
Mhm.
So it's like I'm slowly like meeting people, but
Yeah.
I don't have the community like I do with lung cancer.
Mhm.
Not yet anyway.
Are the people you're meeting that have double lung transplants also have lung cancer or they're getting a transplant for other reasons?
No, they have transplants for other reasons. Well, one of them, she had, I think, like colon cancer. She did have cancer, but it was different types of cancer. The other one that I just met, she had like an autoimmune disease, and then a couple others I've met, they've had like COPD, and things like that. So nobody has had exactly lung cancer specifically.
Do you know how many people with a lung cancer diagnoses have or diagnosis have had a double lung transplant?
So I was number 13,
Wow.
but since
Are you finding that you are younger than these other people getting transplants or
Oh yeah, I'm the youngest so far.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
wow.
And that
Um,
also makes a difference in recovery too, is what I'm told. Well, that's
yeah,
probably with anything, but
yeah,
yeah.
I was told the same with the lung removal. And I would say I did recover quickly, but I'm still managing pain a year and a half out. Like
Yeah,
they
it's
talk
still
about
rough.
it's rough, like ongoing pain management for you outside of like medication, like any like lifelong changes that you're gonna have to make.
Um, Not necessarily, but they've encouraged me to sign up with palliative care. So I
Mm.
actually have an appointment with them next week. And then the rehab center I go to, they have a pain management clinic also that I said I was going to go to. So just trying to go to,
Our listeners that don't know what palliative care is, can you
oh, sorry.
no, that's okay. Can you explain what it is for people that may not know what palliative care is? Like,
Yes.
is it hospice?
Yeah, it's funny you said that because when I told the girl today, she was like, "Wait, you're going to hospice?"
Mhm.
And I was like, "No." I was like, "A lot of people receive this type of care if they have some type of chronic illness or anything. Basically, it helps them to manage their pain, manage their care in different type of ways."
I want to talk a
Okay.
little bit about the emotional and social impact that this procedure has had. So I'm curious, like, what has been the most emotional part of this journey so far for you?
Ooh. Um, Probably I would say knowing that someone else died so that I would be able to live. And I would love to meet the family of the deceased person. They do have a protocol that what you can do is you can actually write a letter to the donor's family. And they said statistics show that like 70% of the people that you write, they don't write you back. But also having to be away from my husband, my family, my friends, my dogs. I've been up here. I lost my grandmother, who pretty much was like my best friend. My father-in-law passed away, and my great uncle passed away, and I couldn't go to the funerals. I had to watch them virtually. So I feel like that kind of set my recovery back because
100%.
I cried so much.
Oh.
They were saying my chest cavity was just like sore and raw. Yeah, that's been the hardest thing. Just dealing with grieving while I'm going through this, being away from my family and friends and husband and dog, and then knowing that someone else, passed away so that I can live. Probably like the top three things for me.
Well, yeah, there's so much grief, I'm imagining, wrapped up into like not only your diagnosis, but like, having this be your only option and going through this procedure and having to like change basically every aspect of your life. Like that's heavy enough. And I can't imagine dealing with multiple other losses within just this short 4 month period. Like it's only been 4 months.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. Do you like how are you coping with these things? Like what support do you have for yourself?
So I was already seeing a therapist prior to, but I basically have added like another one in the mix
Hmm.
just to have two. I have started to read. I think I told you
Hmm.
I used it in like reading before, but I've actually started reading a little bit. My attention span's still not the greatest, even though it's an audible, but I'm working on it. But no, like seriously, reading has helped a little. I listen to like a lot of music.
Hmm.
Um, and I still talk to my friends and my family like a lot. That helps me.
Hmm.
That kind of helps me get through it. And then I'm not the most religious person in life. I'm not gonna lie. But I am getting back into um, praying more because I kind of lost my faith back a few years ago when I got diagnosed. Things changed, so
Hmm.
I'm trying to get back on a path where I have faith and I'm being more positive about things. And I just want to be an advocate and do things like sharing my story with you or whoever else will listen. So
You're such an inspiration. And I agree with your therapist. I mean, just managing like recovering physically is probably more than a full-time job. Like you're working
yeah.
24 hours a day, actually. Like in my opinion, like even like managing sleeping and like sleeping comfortably. I'm like, how are you
Ugh,
doing? Tell me about that.
yeah. Size. I actually do pretty decent at night though. I'm starting to get more sleep than I did before. So
Mhm.
that's not too bad. But yeah, sleeping, being comfortable sometimes is not the best because I had issues like riding in like cars, like Ubers and stuff. It was hurting my chest
Mhm.
when the person was driving.
Mhm.
But now I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty comfortable riding in the car. But I almost couldn't, like, I had to, when I literally got in the car, I had to like take my arms and everything and just like hold my chest
Oh my God.
while we were riding. Like, everybody was saying, get a pillow, but the pillow didn't work for me.
What advice would you give to someone else who is waiting a transplant or knows that they're going to have a transplant?
Be patient because the process is lengthy and can be difficult, but if you trust the process and you be patient, I think that you'll be okay. And then I'm having issues like apparently losing weight is like normal after the transplant or during the transplant. And some people are saying it's taken them like 6 to 8 months just to start back gaining weight.
Hmm.
So that's another issue that I'm having now. Because when you're on all these pills, you have to take these pills for transplant and they have a lot of side effects. So
Mhm.
sometimes with the side effects, like say for instance, one of the medications gives you severe GI issues. So you'll have like either diarrhea and or constipation, nausea, vomiting. So if you have all that going on, even though you're taking like, Imodium and all these different meds, it's still hard to eat because
Yeah.
you're like queasy and things. So it's
Mhm.
just everybody's saying just eat. It's way more difficult
Not
than
that
just
easy to
eat.
just eat. I hate when
Yeah.
people say it's like, okay, come make me food and like feed me. Like I can't just eat. It's not that easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not. So
God.
that's a whole nother thing to it. The weight
Yeah.
gain and the eating and
Mm.
the pills. You have to take your pills.
Yeah.
When I started out, I think I was taking like, I want to say like 35 pills a day,
Oh my God.
maybe. So that has been reduced. The further along you go,
Uh-huh.
it gets reduced a little bit. So,
How many pills are you on today?
um, maybe like 20, early 20s. I'm still on quite a bit.
And you probably have like PRN pills you're taking on top of it,
Yeah.
stuff. So we have some listener questions. There
Hmm.
are three of them from Instagram. So the first one,
Okay.
And you actually answered this, so you don't have to re-answer if there's anything else you want to add. Um,
Okay.
what did you and your family do to prepare for this hopeful yet scary procedure? Is there anything you want to add to what you did?
Yeah, I will add something to it actually. We actually started a GoFundMe to help with the procedure because obviously the procedure is expensive. There are things that come up as far as medicine, just anything unknown. But we basically started a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe helped us to be able to pay for different medical expenses. So I would definitely encourage someone to start a GoFundMe or anything. It don't have to be a GoFundMe, whatever platforms are out there
Mhm.
to help from a financial standpoint
Mhm.
because they didn't pay for anything. We had to pay for everything. You don't get any like help from the hospital or anything.
Are they paying for your like hotel room right now or your Airbnb? Are you paying for that?
No. Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you have to pay for it. That's why I said a GoFundMe.
What is your GoFundMe name?
Uh,
Have like an Amazon wish list or something?
I
Like,
do.
yeah.
There was a second thing I was gonna say, but I just so my friend just created. I'm late to the list because she just created it. I think like a month ago.
Okay.
So that's been actually cool too because that's extremely helpful because like I'm up here and I'm taking Ubers a lot. So like a Uber gift card and all that is extremely helpful. So yes, create one of those also.
The next question we already hit on a bit as well, but can you talk a little bit about the importance of mental health during your journey?
Oof. Um, Mental health is extremely important. If you are not in a good place, all of this stuff that's going on, like just with normal activities, will drive you crazy because in addition to the surgery, you still have to go to thousands of doctor's appointments. I say I just had to make sure, with the exception of my husband, that I still had different layers of support.
Mm.
So for example, like my mom is obviously going to be a different layer than my best friend. My best friend is obviously going to be different than my dad. So I just had different layers of support that
Mhm.
were able to help me and coach me mentally is what was able to get me pretty much through this. Because if you're just relying on like one person,
Mm.
that's not going to work. So just try to find, in my opinion, like different layers of emotional support
Mm.
is kind of what helped me.
Mhm. So it sounds like you are like aware enough of like the strengths of people in your life and you're able to
Hmm.
lean on them in ways that they're
Right.
able to support you.
Right. Yep.
Mm.
I just wish more attention was paid to mental health because I feel like people focus so much on the physical, they forget about the mental. And mental health is just extremely important. So
Yeah,
we need to focus on physical health just as much as we do mental health, in
Mm.
my opinion.
I agree. I mean, mind body connection, and it's hard to have like a strong body if you don't have a strong mind, and vice versa. Mm.
Exactly. Like I gave you the example earlier, my medical team could tell that I was going through these issues mentally with these deaths, and it was impacting me physically. So
Yeah.
they were like, we got to get you some kind of help because, you're basically it's slowing down your recovery process, which
Last question
mm,
is, are you afraid that the cancer will come back?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely afraid. I feel like because I do have a history of cancer, that at some point it will find a way to come back regardless.
Did your team talk about like the likelihood of cancer coming back, or like did you have any conversations around this before the procedure?
Talked about they couldn't give me the specifics obviously prior to, but after we had a very long conversation about it and they're just based off what they saw, they said that they didn't have any worries or any fear
Mhm.
that it would come back anytime soon. They said they can't guarantee it obviously, but they didn't see anything that would come back soon. So
Mhm.
in my mind I said, well, hey, so you're saying maybe in like 10 years it might come back. And they were like, I mean, it could be a possibility, but it's just not something that we see anytime soon, just because you have the history is
Uh-huh.
more so of, I guess, what they were afraid of.
And you're still able to like move forward with different types of treatment, I'm guessing. Like if it were to return, like can you go back on a chemo or
I cannot do immunotherapy
oh,
because it's a great question that you asked, because I actually asked that. Yeah, I could do anything, I think, but immunotherapy
okay.
and clinical trials.
Oh,
Immunotherapy, because the medicine that you take for the transplant interacts with your immune system also, plus the immunotherapy. So you can't do that. And
uh-huh.
then clinical trials, I'm assuming is because they're not FDA approved and they don't necessarily know what's in the medication and they don't know if it'll interact with your transplant medication. This is just what I'm saying. I don't know.
Okay. And like every year there are so many new treatments coming out. So like
Yeah,
every year we're alive, there are more options I think available to us. Stage
right. I think so
four
too.
for folks. Yeah.
So I think that'll change at some point anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely talked about that. I still would have to get, scans, still have to do whatever. They're gonna transfer my care back to Atlanta
Mhm.
once I'm done, but I can still come to them for like visits and things like that. So they're not gonna just let me go for life.
I hope
I can
not.
still have them. Yeah, they better not.
They better not. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Very last question. I'm going to ask everyone that comes onto my podcast that has a diagnosis. How
Okay.
your diagnosis changed your outlook on life?
It changed my outlook on life because I realized that life can be a lot shorter than what we think. We might not necessarily have as much time here on earth as we think. So God rest my grandmother. So she always told me, you can't take your money with you, so spend it while you're here. And my
Mhm.
husband's like, stop listening to your grandma because you're gonna be broke. But no, seriously, I look at life differently because I try to have as much fun as I can,
Yeah.
without going broke, obviously. But I
Yeah.
just look at things so different. I try to, not saying that I'm mean to people. I'm a very blunt and direct person, but I'm trying to change that a little bit just because you never know what people are going through. So I try to be a lot nicer to people just because you never know. So like for instance, like I bought somebody a coffee last week
Oh my
just
God.
to be nice because I
Nice.
don't know, it just I've turned into like this softie all of a sudden. Like I've never been this soft in my life. But I just feel like you never know what people are going through. So just be nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. I think there's like strength in leaning into the softness, or like I like to call it the feminine, like leaning
Yeah.
into that, in this society where, and this is a whole other conversation, but we're rewarded for like masculine traits, right?
Right, right, right,
Not that being direct is masculine. Like I'm not saying that at all. Like it's good to
right.
be direct, but I can work on being more direct. But um, I think there's a lot of strength in leaning into that, you know.
Yeah.
And
Just I appreciate people more now than I did ever before.
I think I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so great. Well, thank you, Natalie, again for giving me your
Yes.
time. This is like such a powerful conversation. And I
This
love
was
that
great.
you gave me an hour of your life because I'm sure that I mean, you have so much going on. So thank you again.
Anytime, anytime. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes,
Hopefully this helps someone else out also.
it will. 100%. It will. Yeah. A lot of people are looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So thank you.
Yep. And if you have any more questions or whatever, I'm here.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. Bye.